Hi, Paul here from Trekitt, and welcome to the upstairs of the Hereford shop. We've come up today basically because it's absolutely throwing it down with rain outside. It's cold, it's wet, it's windy, and we didn't fancy putting this really nice tent up in such horrible conditions outside. So this is the Terra Laser Compact 2 tent. It's part of the Laser family of tents from Terra, which are all about sort of minimum weight, minimum pack size for adventure racers, mountain marathoners, backpackers, cycle tourers, bike packers, you name it. They're designed for anybody who really wants to carry minimal weight, minimal pack size, and still get a good degree of comfort and internal living space. So this compact gets its name because the pole sections that Terra have used are only 30 centimetres long. What's that, about 30 centimetres? About right. And that basically means that when the tent is packed up, it's only very small pack size. That shorter pole section enables the whole pack size to be a lot smaller, so it'll fit into smaller rucksacks, it'll fit into cycle panniers. It just means it's got a really compact, as the name implies, pack size, and the weight is there at around 1.2 kilos, 1200 grams. So for a two-man tent, that's a really, really good lightweight tent. And if you're sharing that between you, that's only 600 grams each. Not a lot of weight to carry for something that gives you good space, good room, and a tiny pack size. So to keep the weight and pack size to an absolute minimum, Terra have used all their technical expertise and have used their very, very clever watershed fabric on the fly for the tent. So that is it's basically a hybrid nylon ripstop fabric that combines a silicone and a PU coating to keep the weight down, keep the pack size down, but also increase the water resistancy and the UV degradation. So this tent is not going to degrade in UV as quickly as other types of fabric. It's going to maintain its waterproofing for as long as possible. The only disadvantage with this fabric, with the silicone coating, is because it is so slippery. It's really hard to seal the seams that you would do in a traditional way. So what Terra have done is they just haven't bothered sealing up the seams. There's no need. All the major seams on the fly sheet are placed over the inner tent where there are no corresponding seams, or they're away from the inner tent itself. So should you get any water ingress through a seam, it's not going to drip onto the inner tent, it's just going to drip into the space around it, reducing the chance of water ingress into the inner tent. So a super slippery, super lightweight, super strong, UV resistant, waterproof fabric. The inner tent is made from a lightweight, breathable ripstop nylon just to help to reduce condensation, and it also features some mesh panels at the top of the doors, again to increase the airflow and the ventilation to stop any nasty little creatures getting in and nibbling you in the night. And then the ground sheet, the bit in contact with the floor, is made from a heavier duty watershed fabric, so that hybrid construction again, but in a heavier duty, just to protect from the extra wetness that you get under pressure on the ground sheet of the tent. It's also worth mentioning that we would always advise the use of a footprint, even if it does increase the overall weight of your pack tent by a little bit. It just prolongs the life of the tent, it prevents damage to the ground sheet, and should you rip or put a hole in the footprint, it's much easier to replace that or repair it than it is the actual ground sheet. So unless you're absolutely obsessed about weight, we'd always recommend that you use a footprint with the tent. The pole themselves, so you've got the main hoop pole here, then you've got a shorter pole either end. Those are made from high quality aluminium from a company called DAC, who are kind of the masters of aluminium extruding and pipe tube making. And these are the NFL poles. They are super light, super flexible, and super strong. And also they have a good environmental message, in as much as the anodizing that's used on the pole is made using recycled water content, and also the choice of chemicals helps to reduce any toxins or poisons being released back out into the atmosphere. So a really reliable pole, quality pole made by DAC with a nice environmental story around it as well. The pegs it comes with are these lightweight alloy nail type pegs. You get 10 of them, which is enough to do all the major pegging points in the tent. But personally, I would always carry extra pegs, and at least an extra 50%, so another 5 pegs in this point, because you will invariably lose 1 or 2, they'll get damaged, they'll get bent beyond usable. So it's always worth carrying extra pegs. And then down at the bottom of the peg bag, you'll find a little bag with some spare fabric in there if you need to do an emergency field repair. So everything you need to get the tent up, keep it strong, keep it stable. The Terra Laser Compact 2 is pretty easy to pitch. It does need a little bit of care to get it as nice and tight and taut as you can see it here, but with a bit of practice it can be done in a few minutes. It comes in the bag with the inner and the outer pitch together, so it goes up as one, but technically it is an outer pitch first. You simply thread the pole through the pole sleeve here up on the top, insert the 2 poles at the ends, peg out the ends, peg out the corners of the fly and the ground sheet together and the inner tent together, and hey presto, there you go. So you can get it up really quickly and with the use of minimal pegs. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pegging points here at the moment, and that's enough to give it a good stability and good structure. Obviously in windier, nastier conditions than you would find in the upstairs showroom or shop, you'd want to use guy lines and the extra pegging points. But nice and quick and easy, really straightforward as well. You know, you can't confuse where the poles go. The 2 end ones are the same length and there's only the 1 pole over the top. So super quick and super simple. So working through the features of the Terra Laser Compact 2, entrance wise you get 2 zipped entrances. There's a door either side of the tent here underneath these kind of black flaps of material here to protect the zip. So the kind of initially would think, great, got 2 vestibules as well, but actually you get 1 large vestibule on the front of the tent, and the front is signified by the labels here, Terra Nova labels. On the back side of the tent there is an entrance, but there's only a very small vestibule. And that again is all designed to keep the pack size and the weight to an absolute minimum. So you just simply unzip this from the bottom, like so. And there you go, there is your main vestibule and the inner tent. This door can be pegged back. There's a little toggle here which corresponds with a loop on the inner tent, and that just flicks back like so, just to allow you access if you're sat in the tent, sat up, get a view, gets that door out of the way if you're cooking in this sheltered area. There's not a huge amount of features on this tent, so don't expect lots of options like neat little things to roll the door away, and little toggles and little loops. That all adds weight and bulk to a tent. This is designed to be absolute minimum, so you just get the bare essentials, but it's got good living space, so it is a comfy place to be. And like I said, there is a decent sized vestibule here. The assumption is you're only going to be carrying lightweight kit anyway, you're not going to have a massive rucksack, so there's room for a pack in here, boots, you can get boots in the other side as well. But yeah, good usable living space. The main zip on the entrance is also a 2-way zip, so if you wanted to you could undo that from the top, just bring this down, and that will give you some increased ventilation during the night if it's not tipping down with rain obviously. It just gives you that option to unzip from the top to create a little bit of ventilation. So we've moved around to the back of the tent. See, no labels, so this is the back of the tent, and you've got another zip here, 2-way zip, so you've got that ventilation option at the top. If you unzip that to gain access to the inner tent, you can see straight away it's there. You know, there's no big vestibule here. You could probably squeeze in your lightweight running shoes, maybe a little bit of clothing in a stuff sack or something like that, but you know, you're not going to use this as your main storage area. You're just going to use this to get access to the second zip on the inside, so you're not climbing over each other. If you want to go for a wee in the middle of the night or something like that, you've each got your own entrance. But yeah, not a huge amount of storage space there. Another useful feature that comes with the Compact 2 is this kind of sleeve, overlay, whatever you want to call it. And this is designed to go over the main pole to add extra security in windy weather, because it comes with 2 guy ropes attached. But it also adds extra weather protection. I was talking about the fact this hasn't got taped seams, so over around by the doorway is a weak spot for water ingress if it's going to get in, if it's blowing hard and raining hard. So if you want to just add some extra protection against the wind and the rain, you can fit this sleeve over the top. It attaches to the pole at the bottom, and then these cords correspond with the loops on the pole sleeve here, and that just locks that into place and creates a protective structure that gives the tent more stability and, like I said, protection from the weather. Helping with ventilation is always a big issue with the tent, but thankfully the Compact 2 comes with double mesh panels, one at either end of the tent. So underneath this little canopy here, you've got this mesh panel, same at the other end of the tent. And that's protected with a material flap on the inside. So if it's horrible weather, really blowing, nasty, you don't want rain driving in through that mesh, there's a cover in place, as it is here now. But that's just held in place with Velcro, and you can release that, drop it right down, roll it up out the way, there's a little toggle and loop inside, and that gives you full mesh to give increased ventilation in warmer weather, or if you're just a bit more protected. The Compact 2 comes fitted with two guide points either end, which are attached to this shorter pole. But you also get at either end of the tent two additional loops, these little webbing loops here. So if you wanted to rig up your own guy lines, you could add another 4 guy lines onto here. And then with the cover that goes over the pole, that would give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guying points for really nasty conditions. Okay, so moving on to the inner tent. The first thing you notice is at the front door here, so the main entrance if you like, is the door is massive, and it's got this big mesh panel up at the top which helps with ventilation and stop the insects getting in. You've got a two-way zip, so you can pull it down, unzip it all the way around, tuck the door out of the way into the corner, and you've got a massive unrestricted access into the sleeping area. And also if you're sat in here, you can just get in nice and easily, get at your kit, see what's going on. Just really easy access into this space. So the inner tent is pretty basic, it's pretty bereft of features, but again, that is all about keeping the pack size and the weight to the absolute minimum. I don't know if you're getting the message here, but I keep banging on about it. It's all about the pack size and the weight, all right? So in through that big main door, the other door out to the back of the tent is C-shaped. So again, it'll roll back, a little toggle and a loop to hold that into place. And then at either end of the inner tent, there is a mesh with a solid fabric panel over which can be folded down just to increase the ventilation, or stick it back up, keep the heat in. And that's about it really. Oh yeah, the main door, to keep it all out the way, stop you trampling on it, we're getting in and out with muddy boots, etc. It rolls back nicely and just tucks into a little mesh pocket. And again, when the door is done up, that means you've got a little storage pocket in the corner of the tent. Keep your head torch, your mobile phone, alarm clock, whatever you fancy. And that really is it. Nice and simple, everything you need, nothing you don't. Okay, so space-wise, it's not massive. Okay, it's not designed to be massive. It's a two-person tent. Admittedly, you'd have to be pretty good friends with who you're sharing the tent with if you're using this for 2 people. Personally, I like to think of this as a good roomy one-man tent, but just to indicate how much space there is in there, we've got a couple of Thermarest Neo-Air mattresses in there, so they're tapered and we put them in top to toe, head one end, feet the other end, and they fit in absolutely. There's not a lot of space around them, but it does prove that you can get 2 people in here. So if you're a team of 2 on a mountain marathon, you can use this shelter. You can be assured you're both going to get in there. It's going to be cozy, nothing wrong with that, keep each other warm. But yeah, not a massive amount of space, but just enough for 2, or a nice roomy living space for 1. So I've just crawled into the tent, and if you're familiar with my videos, you'll know that I'm around 6'3" tall. And I can fit in here, it's plenty long enough. I can stretch out. If I had this to myself, I'd have a nice, roomy, lightweight tent. Okay, so that is the Terra laser compact 2 tent. It builds on the long established and excellent reputation of the Terra laser series of tents, but offers that in a lightweight, super compact package that will fit into smaller day packs, cycle panniers, etc. It's for anybody who really does want the minimal pack size, minimal weight for lightweight backpacking, cycle touring, backpacking, mountain marathons, anywhere, any type of event, any type of activity where you just want a reliable structure that's going to keep the wind and the rain out, but with the minimum weight and minimum pack size. You can get 2 people in it. Add a squeeze if you have to. Personally, I would use this as a nice roomy one-man tent. The weight isn't restrictive, 1.2 kilos, that's nothing to carry. So yeah, an excellent little tent, super lightweight, super compact. Okay, thanks very much for watching. If you like our content and want to be kept up to date with all our videos, please hit the subscribe button below. If you want to add any comments or questions, please pop them in. It's always good to hear from you. And Harry will put up some links here as well through to the products on our website so you can fill out on all the geeky details. Thanks for watching. Toodaloo.